was a warm, crowded room with exposed wooden beams. Candles and the sunset filtering through the windows were the only sources of light, which sounded more romantic than it looked. Indeed, not even romance itself would look romantic if it was being seen in the rotted stump. Martin scanned the room. It was a busy night. Strong men were drinking strong drinks and using strong language. He was looking for a youngish man, like himself, who seemed out of place, like he did, and was most likely in deep trouble, which he had been. As he peered into the murk, he heard a deep, booming voice shout, "Martin the Magnificent!" Martin tried not to cringe. One of his first acts upon arriving in medieval England was to give himself that nickname. And as with all self-bestowed nicknames, it had been an awful mistake that now haunted him. Pete, the owner of the rotted stump and whose absent right forearm gave the inn its name, got up from a raucous table in the corner and came to meet Martin, smiling broadly. "Martin, good to see you, lad. Philip couldn't make it?" Pete asked, patting Martin on the shoulder. "Yeah, he's busy, so he sent me instead. Is there a problem, Pete?" "No problem at all," Pete replied. "Just a new wizard in town is all. He showed up dressed in strange clothes. I sent the boy to go fetch Philip right away. I needn't have hurried, though. He seems to be all right. He's already getting on much better than the last wizard that turned up." Martin scowled. "I was the last wizard that turned up." Pete's smile didn't even flicker. "Aye. He walked up to me and asked if I was in charge. I said I was, and he asks what we have to drink. I point to the beer barrel. He looks at it and says, 'That'll do.' He's been back there drinking and talking ever since." "Has he offended anyone?" Martin asked. "No, he fits right in. I think Gert's sweet on him. Come here, I'll introduce you." As he crossed the room, Martin was able to pick the new wizard out of the group right away. It was his hair that set him apart. It was a fallacy that every man in medieval times had a flowing mane. There were a variety of hairstyles available to the stylish medieval male, but a perfectly trimmed, flat-top buzz cut was not one of them. Martin guessed that the new wizard was in his mid-50s. Beneath his iron-gray, military-grade haircut, he had dark, severe eyebrows and a perfectly trimmed mustache. He was wearing a flimsy white dress shirt and a thin black necktie. Instead of a wizard's robe, he wore a tan trench coat. Martin kicked himself for having not thought of that himself. It seemed as if a dim bar was the new wizard's natural habitat, even if it was a dim bar in the Middle Ages. Pete cleared his throat, and all conversation at the table stopped. The new wizard looked straight at Martin, making eye contact immediately. Gert sat next to the new wizard, towering over him like a slightly feminine oak tree. She had been smiling down at him, but when she looked at Martin, her smile turned effortlessly into a snarl. She liked Martin all right, but she already knew that she liked this new guy more, and she wanted Martin to know it as well. Pete gestured toward the new wizard with his hand and said, "Martin, I'd like you to meet Roy. Roy, this is Martin." Roy looked at Martin for a moment, then said, "Oh yes, the apprentice. Your teacher couldn't make it?" When Martin arrived in this time, he knew next to nothing. He hadn't known that there were other wizards with the same kinds of powers that he had, that the other wizards were time travelers from the late 20th and early 21st centuries, like he was, or that there was a training and orientation program in place for newly arrived wizards. Not knowing these things, he had made many mistakes. Clearly, the locals had already told this guy Roy all about the wizards and the training. They probably had told him about Martin's arrival, and from that, Roy could have figured out that the other wizards were probably time travelers like he was. Philip would have told Martin that there was a lesson in this about